This is the MCTV Weekday Update.
Good afternoon and welcome to the MCTV Weekday Update. I'm Laura Duclos.
And I'm Sarah Bohannon. Lubbock's electric utility is feeling the heat over a couple of recent issues. Lubbock Power and Light officials were accused of not following the law and hiring outside contractors. That led to an investigation, but then there were problems with that. Reporter Sasha Wilson talked with Lubbock's mayor and others and brings us the story.
The Board of Lubbock Power, Utility and Light convened on November 4th at a meeting in participation with the City of Lubbock Council. But this was no ordinary meeting.
Subchapter D of the Texas Government Code. City Council will now recess into executive session.
LP&L's agreement with Xcel Energy ends in 2019, so they issued a request for proposal, a purchased power agreement which could potentially last for over 30 years, with an $8 billion city commitment. While the board did discuss strategies to improve customers' bill fluctuations, the major topic of discussion was over bid rigging allegations that have recently been leveled against CEO Gary Zhang in favor of Alpine Energy, a group who are consultants, not developers. The initial law firm that was conducting the audit on LP&L has been dismissed, but Lubbock City Mayor Glenn Robertson does not seem to trust the new one either. He has his own ideas on how to solve the problem.
After meeting with the law firm that was here, that this firm was more directed to hide the problem instead of uncover it. We can't do that. This is taxpayers' dollars. We're talking billions of dollars. And I think it's time to make sure that we've at least asked our police chief. We can't demand it, but ask our police chief to check with any other law enforcement agencies, whether they be state or federal, and see if we don't need to do some sort of internal investigation.
Last week, Dr. Zhang told Sandstorm scholar journalist Scott Mann in an exclusive interview that anyone who opposed the bidder has a personal financial interest. The mayor said although he has been threatened with lawsuits by city employees, he is looking out for the interests of Lubbock's taxpayers.
I'm going to let those little petty things fall by the wayside. If it continues, then as a private citizen, I'll take whatever action I need to, but I'm going to leave it out of the political part of it. We've got enough personality issues as it is now. I don't want to delve into that.
Clayton Isom is one of the Electric Utility Board members who voted for Dr. Zhang's termination in Wednesday's meeting. He also responded to Dr. Zhang's accusation.
Gary made a comment last week to Scott Mann locally that I had opposed the investigation from Andrews Kirk into the RFP that's been going out about the duration of 2019. And his comment was that Gary also made a comment that I don't have a question on this. He made a comment that I had opposed the investigation of the RFP, and then he made a comment that I had financial pain at stake in trying to thwart the RFP that was being handled right now, which was also inaccurate.
The new law firm Ashcroft, Sutton and Ratcliffe will conclude the RFP audit and will work with the FBI to investigate the integrity of the future power source agreement. With Texas Tech's The Hub, I'm Sasha Wilson.
Sasha Wilson is joining me now in the studio to talk a little bit more about this story. Sasha, it's pretty complicated. Could you give a little background information on what's going on with LP&L?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. So, LP&L has never been popular in Lubbock. There isn't any one person in Lubbock that basically hasn't had a problem with LP&L. That's a generalization. Mostly everybody in Lubbock has had a problem with LP&L at one point or another. There's actually even a Facebook page called I Hate LP&L, so that's a little crazy. There's a website called I Hate LP&L, but the problem is this year LP&L raised their rates. There was a huge rate hike this year, and there was such a huge outcry that someone actually even shot up an LP&L truck with a BB gun. Wow. That was wild. Now, the mayor received so many complaints because of the rate hike that he was forced to publish a letter on the I Hate LP&L website, and it basically promises to look into the matter and try to get some stuff done about it. He said in the letter that the rate hike increased LP&L's revenues by $5 million this year. And he also said that next year it is due to increase their revenues by $20 million. So their revenue's going up. What I find interesting is that it took the scandal with the RFP for LP&L to pay attention to the voice of its customers and finally discuss a rate stabilization option.
Okay, so who actually broke the story about LP&L's CEO rigging the bids?
Well, the journalist, his name is Scott Mann. He's a local blogger, and his website, he publishes and edits a website. It's called the Sandstorm Scholar. He conducted the big interview with Dr. Zhang, so he really turned up the heat on Dr. Zhang after this, as a result of the interview. Mr. Mann has an interesting story here in Lubbock. He identifies as a libertarian, but he actually served as a Lubbock County Republican chair. Also, he's a former chairman of the of the State Commission on Judicial Conduct. So he has extensive political connections here in Lubbock. He also used to actually be a Church of Christ minister, and he was a professional photographer later. So he has a lot of experience and extensive history here in Lubbock.
Okay, so you mentioned the Alpine Energy Group earlier in your report. What do we know about them exactly?
Yes, Alpine Energy, before Mr. Mann interviewed Dr. Zhang, he did extensive investigative work on Alpine Energy. He discovered that they actually have no complete record of project development. So he said essentially they're building inspectors. They attempted a project in the Virgin Islands, and that resulted in a huge scandal. So there's no doubt that they're not qualified for this job that's going to take place in 2019. In addition, before Mr. Mann contacted AEG's ex-employee, they had 6 listed projects that they had developed on their website. After he spoke to them, they took off 4 of those projects. So there's something very sketchy going on with AEG. So that's definitely something to look out for in the future, and something that Mr. Mann uncovered.
So how does Gary Zhang tie into AEG?
Well, Gary Zhang actually went to a meeting in Florida. It was a General Electric meeting, and he went with AEG. So that was suspicious. Also, he admitted to Scott Mann that he allowed AEG to write the request for proposal. The real controversy, however, emerged when when Dr. Zhang told Scott Mann that anyone who attacks the AEG deal has something to gain, something financially to gain, which indicates several of the electric utility board members who did have a voice against this process. So basically, the meeting that I covered was full of infighting. You could really cut the tension with a knife, and it was quite an experience.
Yeah, wow, it sounds like it.
Yes.
It was a pleasure having you here today. Thank you so much for bringing us this information.
Absolutely, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
High school students who work in the Lubbock Independent School District's TV studio came to visit MCTV last week. They expected a tour, but as reporter Sarah Self-Walbrick shows us, we put them to work.
Have you ever wondered how students get started in the broadcast industry? More and more often, they're getting started in high school, much like the program I was in here in Lubbock with LISD TV. Some of the members from that studio came and visited us on Wednesday.
The Lubbock Independent School District has had its own TV station for over 25 years. Carol Alonzo, who was in the program when she was in high school, is one of the teachers at LISD TV. She explained to us what all they do at Channel 12.
At LISD TV, we work with high school students, and we have a state-of-the-art television station, and they are able to produce a student newscast. We teach them how to shoot video, how to edit video. They produce their own projects, and so it's a real good start for them to see what, the variety of things that they can do.
When the high school students, who range from sophomores to seniors, got to our MCTV studio, they were able to hop on and help film the newscast like pros. Alonzo told us why she thinks programs like this are important for both high school and college students.
Our program at LISD TV and this program at Tech give the kids a chance to get in there and do the job that they'll actually be doing at a TV station or in some kind of media industry. And so it gives them the chance to see, am I going to like this or am I not going to like this? And if they don't, that's okay. You know, then that at least gives them some information to say, let me try something else.
Remember these kids' faces, folks, because they'll be here on the big screen before you know it. For the MCTV Weekday Update, I'm Sarah Wilson.
Texas Tech's livestock judging team came this close to a national championship Tuesday. Tech finished second at the North American International Livestock Exposition. Tech lost out to Texas A&M by just 18 points at the competition in Louisville, Kentucky. Tech beat out 29 other teams, though, to take the reserve national champions title. The 113-year-old competition tests knowledge of cattle, sheep, and swine. Among the teams Tech beat, Big 12 rivals Oklahoma State and Kansas State.
Speaking of competition, Texas Tech's women's soccer team got to the second round of the NCAA tournament. Guess who they play Friday night? A&M. Tech will face the Aggies Friday at 2:30 p.m. in the tournament at Chapel Hill, North Carolina. The two teams are pretty evenly matched. Tech's record is 18 wins, 2 losses, and 2 ties. Texas A&M also has 18 wins, 4 losses, and 1 tie. Tech got to the second round last year but lost to Florida State. Wreck-'em Tech. If all you know about the weather is that it's sunny and warm outside right now, you are not prepared for this weekend.
Yeah, you got that right. MCTV weather specialist Carly Smith is outside the Media and Communication building with some news about big changes coming our way. Carly?
You know what, ladies? It definitely has felt a lot like spring lately out here in Lubbock. And last weekend we had that dust storm blow through and the temperatures have been nice up in the 70s, but that will change as an Arctic front is actually beginning to push through the area right now as we speak. The winds are gusting off and on. Sometimes the trees will start having the leaves blow off. So the winds speeds are definitely increasing, which means that Arctic front is coming. And with that Arctic front, there is actual chance for precipitation this time. Right now, it's looking that Lubbock will just be seeing more like a wintry mix. And so as we look at that 3-day forecast, though, you will see that the wintry mix chances are sticking around throughout the weekend. The low Friday morning will be in the lower 20s, and it looks like we'll stay below freezing for the first time this year throughout the entire day. Saturday and Sunday, it will be cold again, with the highest sitting right around that freezing mark of 32 degrees. So I do want to note that there is about a 20 to 40% chance for wintry mix throughout the weekend. So definitely stay safe out there on those roadways as you're traveling, and be sure to bundle up. Ladies, back to you.
So Carly, how likely are we to see snow this weekend?
You know what? It definitely is a weird thing to forecast whether or not it will be snow or freezing rain, because it all has to do with the way the air is lifting and the way the rain is falling. So I do have a graphic from the National Weather Service, which will help us kind of see what they're thinking for the Lubbock area this weekend. And it looks like Lubbock is sitting right along the boundary layer where the difference between freezing rain and snow is. So there is a chance for snow, but don't get your hopes up. It looks like it'll mainly be just freezing rain or sleet. So I do also want to point out on this graphic, though, that if you are traveling to Dallas or Midland, it is wintry mix along those roadways also. So definitely be careful as you're going, especially over those bridges. So enjoy this winter weather, guys.
Wow, well it sure will feel like it's the holiday season. That's all for this edition of the MCTV Weekday Update.
Be sure to check ttuhub.net every day for more news, and we'll be back next week. Stay warm.